according to the Torah, right, Ishmael never went to Mecca. That's what the Torah says, okay? And so if Ishmael never went to Mecca, that means that Abraham and him never went and built the Kaaba. And so if Ishmael and Abraham didn't build the Kaaba, then who built the Kaaba? Pagans.
Yes, in my other blogs were mentioned that Abraham sent Ishmael and his mother away. I used to make it a basis that it is impossible for Ishmael to go back to his brother Isaac just to bury their father. So that just proved that Abraham really go to Arab just for Ishmael, because God has a covenant to Abraham concerning his two sons, first to Isaac, second to Ishmael. These two covenants refers to two kingdoms in the Church of God. Church means the wholeness of the believers of God. I said first is to Isaac, because the Church of God, which name is House of Abraham, or Household of Abraham. Yes, the name of the Church of God, which is also that Church of Christ, as one is Church of Abraham. The name of the Church of God is not Church of God or Church of Christ. That word is exclusively just implying about ownership, not as a name. So since God built his church to Abraham, so the name of God's church is Abraham. The God church has two main names. It is Church of Abraham, and when God and Jesus rebuilt it to Simon, it was called Peter International Church, and that was given by God and Jesus to the one that were going to bear fruits, which means to continue on making disciples. Matthew 28 verse 19, Jesus took away the church from Israel, not from the Israelites, and given it to Romans, mainly the European, the descendants of Esau as the center. Israel Vatican II, where Peter was crucified upside down. That is why the basilica was named after Peter. God and Jesus gave the church to the descendants of Esau, because the covenant is to Isaac and to his descendants. This is also cited in Quran, so God and Jesus will not give it to Philippines or to such nations other than the Romans, mainly the European, the descendants of Esau. Now, as I've said, first to Isaac, because the church that was been built to Abraham was continued or turned over to Isaac, or House of Isaac or Church of Isaac. As I've said, the Church of God has two names. First, originally it's Church of Abraham, then the second is Peter International Church, because God and Jesus rebuilt it to Simon, which God and Jesus made him as a rock. And in the two main names of church, there are other names, as on one which are Church of Isaac, Church of Jacob, Church of Judah or Judaism, then to Church of Esau International, which also means Roman International Church or Roman Catholic Church. Then it was said second to Ishmael, because the Church of God, which was also Church of Christ, is one, because as Jesus said, me and the Father are one. That is why Jesus also said, I am the Father. If you will not believe me that I am the Father, you will die in your sin. So as I've said, second to Ishmael, because the church that was continued to Judah or Judaism is what was also given to Muhammad, the descendant of Ishmael. Those who don't believe that Muhammad is the descendant of Ishmael are stupid. Why will God and Jesus give the church to anyone who was not a descendant of Ishmael, whom God has his second covenant? So this second covenant was been fulfilled by Jesus to Muhammad, as he called Muhammad and recited the whole scripture, but some which were not written in the Bible were written in Quran, and numerously which were not written in Quran were written in the Bible, as both the Bible and Quran states that not all were written both in Bible and Quran. So that is why all that were not written in Bible were being preached as a doctrine that were not written but written in other books, like the Quran. Those that were not written in Quran were written in Hadith. But ironically, when Muhammad died, his followers corrupted the Quran, as they burned the original Quran and made a new corrupted Quran. As Jesus said, what was given to you, O Muhammad, is nothing except what was already with the people of the scripture, which now is Judaism, Christianity, or Christianity being ministered by the name of the Church, Roman Catholic Church. As Jesus also said to Muhammad, what was given to you, O Muhammad, is the confirmation of what was already with the RCC. The Romans was also mentioned in Quran, as was also written in Quran. The prophethood and the scripture was been given to Abraham and to Isaac descendants, referring to Jacob and to Esau. It was also said was given to Ishmael, mainly because what was given to the descendants of Isaac is what was also given to Ishmael descendant. Now, as I've said, as Abraham went to Arad, because he so loved Ishmael only that he sent away Ishmael and Hagar, as per instruction of God. So Abraham, when he was strong yet so possibly that he went to Arab to build that Kaaba, and as he put the stone there, although it is not about altar of the Lord, it is just like about what Reuben it's do what Abraham had done. in Joshua 22 verse 31, but read all the Joshua 22 verses 9 to 31. So it is not alter. Abraham just wanted to show that Ishmael and his descendants are the Arabs for God. Originally some of the Arabs' lands are the tribes of Keturah's descendants, the second wife of Abraham, and by those other tribes, as Ishmael drew in the border of Egypt before. I just don't know it when Muhammad conquered the peoples in Arab who don't want to accept Allah and Jesus or they killed them all. But like the Canaan God gave it to Isaac as for his son Jacob, so is the Arab God gave it to Ishmael as for his descendants, as the promised kingdom to Abraham concerning his son Ishmael. So it is impossible that Ishmael did not go to Mecca. So since Abraham intentionally reached Ishmael in Arad, so that is why even Ishmael and Hagar was sent away by Abraham, so Ishmael go to Isaac to bury their father Abraham. It is of narrow mind, or lack of IQ, or of being uneligible to say the Kaaba was made by the pagan, whereas Muhammad destroyed all idols in Arab and in other countries. He even destroyed all the representation of the Roman Catholic Church in Arab. It is in the Bible and Quran that what was built by Jesus to Muhammad is Judaism, Muhammadism, Christianity, or Muhammadism, Christianity, or Christianity. Do you mean, after Jesus had recited the whole scripture to Muhammad, then right away Jesus will just allow Muhammad and the Arabs to venerate the Kaaba if it was made by pagan? It is of the fact when the Arab is pagan yet, so as they are ignoring the Kaaba as was said as being built by Abraham, but when Jesus called Muhammad, so as they started to patronize the Kaaba, but ironically as until the Arab rejected the Christianity, so as they started to wrongfully venerate the stoning Kaaba.